Hello, I'm Derek John Johnson. I'm going to be giving my kind of reaction to this Babylon Bee video where they smear exvangelicals.
Let me give you something.
Yeah, we get to the first one, basically her talking about how much she loved Jesus until a college professor asked her how a loving God could oppose homosexuality, and she had basically thought about what she believed, and in her words, I never once thought about what I believed, and I abandoned my faith like that. But here's the thing. You know, most of us do think about that before we decide to leave, right? Like, it's not this big fucking gotcha all the time. And yes, empathy for homosexuals and transgender people can lead to people leaving, but again, most of us start questioning our faith long before that. It's not just abandoning your faith like that. It takes time to work through your things. And here's the thing. There's a lot of risks in leaving evangelical circles because, well, as I said before, it's a fucking decentralized cult with a bunch of other cults inside it. And leaving can cost you your friends, your family, everything. Now she says, since then I've learned all kinds of arguments against Christianity. Did you know there are other religions? You know, most of us know, evangelicals know other religions exist, right? Like, that is a legitimate thing that you do know. It's just most of the times you're taught that, they're not the true faith, or that they won't get into heaven because God doesn't like them, with maybe the exception of one or two. Or did you know that some people have had bad experiences with people at church? Yes, we know that. But most of the times we'll just, bury those thoughts or say, oh, it's just a few bad eggs before then. Here's the thing. The reason most of us leave is due to our bad experiences. It's not just one or two bad apples. No, again, it's pretty much a thing that is built into evangelical ideology. It is extremely emotionally abusive and toxic. You're forced to forgive people, or else you are pretty much fear-mongered that you will go to hell and God will hate you. You are told that you have to be willing to be a martyr, and that pretty much you will be taken in and executed at any time for being a Christian. Dear fucking Lord, Babylon Bee, I didn't expect much from you, but be better. Okay, I'll give credit. This one actually did kind of make me laugh. Basically, she said, have you heard of science? If God was real, then why science? Which actually is a somewhat funny parody of people who basically just go from being far-right Bible thumpers to just being the exact opposite of extreme of being atheist thumpers who basically use science to dismiss any religious people. You get one point as long as you don't screw it up in the next 5 seconds, which I doubt you won't. I can't believe another evangelical has never thought about this, except all those other ex-evangelicals who abandoned the faith in the exact same way. Fuck you! Seriously, fuck you. We didn't abandon the faith. We realized what we were being taught was toxic bullshit. And then evangelicals are basically an extremist cult. And decided we just can't believe this or stand by this anymore. Here's the thing. You ever thought that maybe the reason the stories are similar is because the group has a shared ideology across the branches with, yes, little branching things outwards? It's kind of like TERFs. There's a core ideology which is very extreme in nature. They have a very cult-like way of operating. but they have branches with different ideologies. Like some might not be okay with books, certain books, or anime. Kind of the same way that some evangelical churches might ban, like, Disney movies or something, while other evangelical churches will be perfectly fine with that. In fact, in my experience, plenty of evangelicals just absolutely love Disney, myself included, even as an exvangelical.
You were right.
When I was in the church, I had so much self-doubt, judged other people, and felt repressed in the name of the Christ. But now that I leaved, I feel so much self-doubt, judge other people, and feel repressed, but all in the name of myself. Okay, seriously, you know that most of us, after leaving evangelicalism, do not have our problems fixed right away. Because when you spent your life get drilled into your head that trans people were evil and ungodly and that you were the only one who knew the truth and you were going to be taken out and killed for it, and that the world was against you because you just loved Jesus so much, that kind of stuff, it kind of tends to stick in your head, and those feelings can be really hard to shake. But yeah, after leaving, I wasn't as repressed as before.
Something far more valuable.
And here's the thing. Not wanting to feel self-doubt, be forced to judge everyone else as sinners, not wanting to feel completely repressed just because God said so, that's a perfectly valid reason to not want to be in your church anymore. Christians don't realize how dogmatic and controlling their religion is. Yes, evangelicals still in the cult don't get how dogmatic and controlling it is because they've been brainwashed, usually since childhood, to see that as normal. That is a perfectly valid and true thing to say, you fucking hacks! On Sunday, I can do yoga or complain about the no dogs rule at the park instead of going to church or feeding the homeless. Heck, you know plenty of us still like to feed the homeless and help people, right? Like, the reason I'm a socialist is because I have empathy for others and want them to not suffer needlessly anymore. I support free health care. I support policies that would actually help out the homeless and disenfranchised. Unlike you guys at the Babylon Bee who just make dumb jokes about AOC for wanting to help others. Fuck that bitch, am I right? Here's the thing. A lot of church charity work is usually done with the selfish intent of bringing in people when they're desperate so you can brainwash them into believing the ideology. So, please fuck off with this shit. It really just felt like you were taking a cheap dig at people you don't like, Babylon Bee. Instead of reading the Bible, I can read quotes on Instagram. Evangelicals do that too. It's just usually like a Bible quote from like a pro-life page or, you know, one of those other like really Christian pages that are kind of not super progressive. When someone's telling me about their prayer request, I can wait till it's my turn to talk and freely make their problem about me.
1, 2, 3.
Evangelicals do that too. And here's the thing. You know, most of us aren't doing that. Like, I'll still allow people to have their little prayer requests because I feel like it can make them happy even if I don't personally believe it. The idea of evangelism is so offensive. To convince people your ideas are right while their ideas are wrong. To convince them they're going to hell for deciding to love who they love. To tell them that their gender identity is invalid and they have to live their lives in a body they hate because you said so. And if they don't, they're evil, horrible monsters that deserve to get bullied and mistreated. To convince fucking children that they have to be willing to die for Christ. And if they don't, they're not good enough.
What are their names? Do not be misled.
Oh,
To convince teenage girls that just for dressing and acting like teenage girls, they're going to be raped. And that's their fault.
sapphire, amethyst, and ruby.
To convince young boys that they're evil monsters who can't control themselves, and that if it's a girl's fault if they slip up, and that they have to avoid girls at any cost. To convince people that having sex outside of marriage makes them dirty and used. But oh yeah, it's just telling people their ideas are right while your idea is wrong. Seriously, Babylon Bee, go to fucking hell. I can't believe I used to stand on the sidewalk while asking people if they wanted to hear the four spiritual lusts.
Yeah.
Huh? I think you're trying to talk about some way of the master thing, but like, even with like Ray Comfort, his one trick is a bit different than that. He asks people if they sin sometimes, basically catches them in a gotcha, then says, "You're going to hell unless you get saved right now." Like, what the fuck are you guys talking about?
Look at that massacre in the fire.
We're the good guys.
Right, of course.
Sorry, Christians, you don't get to tell people their beliefs are wrong. I do. Because your beliefs are wrong.
Fish.
And here's the thing. Yeah, you could be talking about the people that just go from one extreme to the other, that just give up being far-right Bible thumpers for atheism. But, like,
Woe is me.
it just really feels like a hypocritical cheap shot. Your guys' site is entirely built on telling people they're wrong and making fun of others for not believing what you do, which is fine by itself, but you guys suck at it. This entire video is just fucking terrible. There's probably some decent exvangelical parody out there you can find. Don't resort to the Babylon Bee. Oh, and before any of you get on my back saying, well, it's satire. Okay, cool. Still, it sucks as satire. And for satire, you do need to have at least some understanding of the other side's belief. Well, it's a very everyday bye.